Recently, I moved out of my parents' home. We used to live in a small house just outside the city. My parents were strict and had difficult personalities, so we rarely had visitors. The only one of my friends they could tolerate was Alex. I'd known Alex since first grade, and he was probably the only person I could truly rely on. Unlike my parents, who preferred to scold me for my mistakes rather than teach me how to avoid them, Alex was always ready to help and offer advice. He had far more life experience than I did. He grew up without a father, started working at 14, and still found time to date girls. I envied him, though not maliciously. I was genuinely happy for his successes. But life wasn't perfect for Alex. His mother was an alcoholic who spent half the child support money on booze. Whatever was left, she used to buy groceries for Alex. Despite that, he had something I never did growing up: freedom. A year after Alex turned 18, his mother passed away, leaving him their small apartment. Last week, Alex came to visit me. My parents had gone out for the evening, leaving us alone in the house for several hours. We weren't the type to throw wild parties. We both knew better than to risk my parents' wrath. Alex had another idea, though. He suggested I use my savings to buy a cheap apartment in the city. I had always been good at saving money, but I wasn't sure it would be enough. "I doubt I can afford anything decent," I said. "You'd be surprised," Alex grinned. "I've got a plan." He explained that an old apartment building in the city had been declared unsafe and was slated for demolition. Residents were being relocated to new developments, and if I bought an apartment there, I'd likely be moved into a brand new unit, completely free. At first, I was skeptical. "You want me to live in a condemned building? What if it collapses while I'm there?" Alex waved me off. "It won't. You'll only be there for a few weeks at most. Just think about it. A free 2-bedroom in a new building. What do you say?" The idea sounded crazy but also tempting. I decided to talk it over with my parents. Took a lot of convincing, but eventually my mom came around. My dad grudgingly agreed, probably just to end the discussion. The next day, Alex showed me an online listing for a small unit in the condemned building. The price was just under what I had saved. The seller was a young guy who'd inherited the place from a distant relative. He was eager to sell and had no sentimental attachment to the apartment. When we went to check it out, I was met with the expected sight: peeling wallpaper, a faint smell of mildew, and a cracked kitchen window. It wasn't much, but it was livable for a short time. The living room had a balcony, an old TV, and a couch where, according to the seller, his grandmother had passed away. Alex and I quickly covered the couch with a sheet. We weren't particularly superstitious, but it didn't feel right to sit on it. The second room had a bed, a wardrobe, and a nightstand. "Well, it's not the Ritz, but it'll do," Alex said with a grin. I moved in that evening. My parents helped me bring over my things, and Alex stayed for a while before heading home. I decided to go to the store to grab some essentials. By the time I returned, it was dark. As I approached the building, I noticed a figure standing near the entrance. "Who's there?" I called out. A woman's voice replied, "I live here." "Who are you?" "I just moved in," I said, stepping closer. She introduced herself as Linda, a middle-aged woman with a heavy smoker's voice. We chatted briefly, and she told me about another tenant, Mr. Johnson, a retired Navy officer who lived on the top floor. "Don't mind him," she said. "He keeps to himself." Our conversation was interrupted when an older man emerged from the shadows. He walked with a limp, his face partially obscured by the dim light. Linda introduced him as Mr. Johnson. He didn't speak much, but as he turned to leave, he said something that sent a chill down my spine. "Don't open your door at night." That night, I locked the door with every bolt and latch. Sleep didn't come easily. Around midnight, I was jolted awake by loud noises from the apartment above. Furniture scraping, heavy footsteps, and the sound of glass shattering. I banged on the radiator with my watch strap, and the noise stopped. The next morning, I asked Linda about the apartment upstairs. "Oh, that's Mr. Johnson's place," she said casually. "Why?" "No reason," I replied, though I couldn't shake the unease. Over the next few days, the noises continued: banging, dragging sounds, and muffled voices. Then one night, there was a blood-curdling scream. Came from Linda's apartment. My heart raced as I called 911. When the police arrived, they found her dead in the bathroom. There were no visible injuries, but blood had pooled around her body, and her nails were broken as if she'd been in a struggle. The police questioned everyone, including me. I told them about the noises from Mr. Johnson's apartment. They decided to investigate. When they broke down his door, they found him in a chair, facing a large mirror. His eyes were wide open, his reflection staring back at us. The room was filled with shards of bloody glass. The autopsy revealed he'd been dead for over a day, likely since the night he warned me about the door. That was the last straw. I packed my belongings and left the building, vowing never to return. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the faint echo of a scream, and I wonder if whatever haunted that building has followed me.